I'm giving you permission to be selfish. This is your license. This is your allowance. This is your time to be selfish. I know we've been taught differently. I know that's what we work not to be. And I'm speaking to those of us that are creatives, that are empaths, that are entrepreneurs, but that are very sensitive and empathetic in our approach at life. Not everybody is like that, and I understand that as an adult that like not a lot of people are like me. Not a lot of people can walk into a room and feel the energy of others. Not a lot of people can watch something on social media and it's not even happening to you, but you can feel it in your body and in your nervous system when you watch something and it can affect you. So I think that is more so something, this is more so geared toward those people that are just very, very sensitive in terms of atmosphere, in terms of other people, in terms of being compassionate and thoughtful because we're empathetic. This for those people. This ain't for y'all niggas that only care about yourself and you like, if it ain't about the money, if it ain't about that, this not for that crowd. But what's up, y'all? I'm Jamai, and welcome to another episode of Manifesting Stardom. This is my journey to being the biggest star in the world, and this is a topic that I still to this day struggle with because so much of my identity is connected to my purpose, my work, and my art. I love music. I love art. I love to sing, and everything that I do is to help me facilitate to my ultimate goal of being the biggest star in the world. So everything I do encompasses things that will push me closer to that goal, to be in a space where I got 200 million monthly Spotify listeners. I am traveling the world and headlining stadium tours where I'm writing my own music. I'm performing every night on stage with massive crowds of people. I'm singing hits that have won Grammys, that I own the rights to, that I wrote, that I created. I'm able to create communities and help less fortunate people around the world. I'm able to walk through hospitals and give big, beautiful treats, not treats, but gifts to cancer patients, and I'm able to help people with their medical bills. That's just what I want for myself, to just do music, create, and be influential in the earth, and just really be a blessing to people in the earth. And so everything that I do now is to facilitate that, to get me to that goal, because all I want to do is sing and perform. And so because of that, that is not a regular goal. That's not a regular life. That's not a regular lifestyle. And so it takes a lot of sacrifice, time, discipline, and money to do what it is that I currently do to even get me to where I want to get to. So practicing piano every day, practicing guitar every day, investing in my diet to buy healthy whole foods, that's even very expensive. Investing in my time to make sure I'm spiritually sound with God, and I'm aligned, and my mental health is good. Making sure I hit the gym every day, making sure I record every day. I haven't been recording because my computer kind of messed up, so I haven't been recording every day, but dancing every day, practicing my guitar solos, practicing choreography, being able to sing and dance live, making sure I keep my body right, investing in businesses that will pay me so that I can live and pay my mortgage and pay my bills and eat and keep. It's a lot. And so with that comes a lot of stress, a lot of mental toil and time. And so we live in a world where everything is balanced. Everybody preaches balance. It's all about balance. And, you can't burn yourself out. That's what everybody say. Don't burn yourself out. Don't put yourself in a position where you can't have a plan. It's just a lot. And so a lot of times, because I value my family or my friends, my relationships, I always want to show up for people because I think that is one of the most valuable things. That's such a valuable currency, to have a reputation of being a good person, of showing up for people, of being present, of, showing up. And so that's something that is not common. And so I value it very much. But it also comes to a point where you find yourself showing up for people and not being able to show up for yourself. And then when you show up for yourself, you feeling guilty because you didn't show up for this person or their loved one or friends or whatever. And so that introduces the concept of, God forbid I'm perceived as selfish. God forbid I'm perceived as picking myself over others. Certainly we don't want that. But that concept can cripple you. It can put you in a position where you're showing up for people, and it may be people that deserve for you to show up for them, but you're showing up for people and you're unable to show up for yourself. We only have so many hours in a day. We only have so many hours in a day that we're able to be productive. Because there's times where you up and you're moving and you've been up, but you're not mentally fresh enough to be productive. You know, like when I'm practicing an instrument, I can't just practice. I have to have the mental focus to be able to practice. And if I'm practicing after a long day of doing a bunch of different things, my brain, I may be physically able to play and practice, but mentally I'm not able to give the true focus and attention and energy that's required for me to really practice for it to be considered productive or for me to actually retain this information. And so if I'm showing up for people, if I'm doing things, if I'm responding to this phone call, if I'm responding to that request, if I'm doing this, I'm not always able to show up my best for myself. And ultimately, showing up for yourself, and when I get to where I want to get to and be who I want to be, then I'll be able to be amazingly a blessing to the people that I love. And so it's really about trade-offs and sacrifices. And of course, this is never an easy answer. Of course, it's never just a one-size-fits-all answer because, showing up for taking your family member to the doctors might have a different stake than just answering a phone call because they want to talk and vent. You know, maybe it might be worth sacrificing showing up to take them to the doctors, or you have to be able to have the discretion to make that decision on your own. But a big part of it is, for me, has been jumping. Because what we're afraid of is we're afraid of saying no and being selfish, and then that feeling that follows. We're afraid of that feeling of feeling like, wow, I wasn't there, or the feeling of them not even responding or affirming us in our decision making. But we got to get to the place where we're not afraid of that. We're welcoming the conflict, and I'm very contrary to how people perceive me and how people think of me. I am a very non-confrontational person. Because I'm very sensitive, I do not like confrontation. I don't like being mistreated, and I don't like injustice. So I will speak up against injustice, and I will speak up about something being wrong. But I do not like to incite conflict, even if it's wrong. But my elder at church, Elder Taylor, always tells us confrontation does not have to be negative, but it is necessary. It is necessary for you to lean into the confrontation of, hey, I can't show up for you today. Because a lot of times what happens is we have taught people that we're available for them whenever they want us to be. And instead of them calling other people to do what somebody else could do, they call us. Not because they don't have other people to do it, not because there aren't any other options. They call us because we're an easy yes. And once I realized that helped me as well. If you say no, I promise you, and you stick to your no, I promise you they'll find a way to handle it. They'll find a way to deal with whatever it is that they asking for you to help them with or show up with them, or they'll get over it. Especially if you do value their relationship and you have shown up for them in other areas, you know what I'm saying, at other times. So the 3 points I have is, like I said, the first point is you can't pour from an empty cup. If you are constantly giving your time, energy, and attention away, your purpose suffers. Taking care of you is not selfish. It is necessary. In order for me to be my best self, to show up for anybody, I gotta pour into myself. I gotta be able to be well rested. I gotta be able to be financially healthy. I gotta be able to have time and be able to mentally give you my undivided attention emotionally and mentally. You know what I'm saying? So that only happens if I'm refreshed, if I'm taking care of myself, if I've made the right financial decisions. That only happens if I'm healthy in all aspects. And the scripture that supports that is Matthew 22:39. Love your neighbor as yourself. You are included in that command. You are included in that command. If you neglect yourself, you are out of alignment. It's just that simple. You're out of alignment with yourself. You're out of alignment with your purpose. And when you're out of alignment with your purpose, you are as good as dirt. You really are. God created you for a thing and you're not doing that thing. You're not pursuing that thing. What good are you? My spatula is no good helping me cut the grass because that's not what it was created for. It's useless. My lawnmower is useless in helping me flip my eggs in this. You know what I mean? That sounds like a crazy example, but if you really think about it, that is what we do. We show up in areas, or we don't show up in the areas that we're made to purpose to do, and then we're morphing to what society wants us to be, and we're miserable, and we're unproductive, and we are below average because we're in an area that we're not purpose to be in. You will only shine in your purpose area. The second point is your calling requires separation. And this is one thing that I've always struggled with because I'm an only child. I'm not technically only child, but I've been an only child for most of my life and raised as an only child. I'm the first grandchild. I'm the first great grandchild. So isolation is not something I've ever had a problem with. However, I've always felt that if I was around more people or whatever, I always still wanted more friends. I always still wanted to have, more friends, even though I'm most comfortable alone. But even when I realized, once I realized that the only way to truly be productive is in isolation, I can only truly write the song. I can only truly have a great practice in isolation. I can only truly correct my craft and hone my craft in isolation. And so that's what you have to realize. You can't do and be and if you're not in isolation. And that's what God's purpose. He created us solely for us to do the work, not for us to do it while we're with and around and doing. No, we got to show up for ourselves in an alone time. And I know everybody doesn't have the luxury of living alone, and everybody does not have the luxury of having like their own space. I know I'm blessed because I have my house, but I also have my studio. And my studio is where I'm able to truly, no matter who's staying with me, no matter who's here, no matter who's not here, I'm able to be in my solitude in my studio whenever I want. It's always available. It's always there. It's not a shared space in any way. And so I'm grateful for that because it's my space for me to create, for me to do my vlogs, for me to pray, for me to just have my alone time. And the solitude is so important. And so it says everybody can't have access to you at all times. Greatness demands focus, sacrifice, and boundaries. And that is so true. That is so true. And the scripture that supports that is Mark 1:35. It says, very early, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed. Even Jesus had to step away from people to stay aligned. We have to stay connected to the word and to the vine. And that is our true space of alignment, is being connected to Christ. The word tells us that He's like a tree and we're the branches. Like, we are only as productive and as aligned when we are connected to Christ and we are clear on what our purpose is. And so A form of worship is doing what you're purposed. My form of worship is being an artist, being a singer, being a creator, being a musician. That's a form of worship because God created me to do that. You know what I'm saying? And so when we spend time with God and when we live in our purpose, we're worshiping. But that can only be done in solitude. That can only be done in intimacy, in an intimate space. And the last one is the most important, which I still struggle with. And I'm saying it because I'm speaking that I'm going to do better. Is saying no to protect your yes. You have to say no to protect your yes. You have to say no to protect your yes. Every time you say yes to distractions, you're saying no to your destiny. Every time you say yes to that social media, that phone call, that doom scrolling, that movie, that you are saying no to your destiny. Every time. Every time. You need to be so deliberate and so aggressive with your time, like your life depended on it, because it does. Like your destiny depends on it, because it does. Being selfish is really just being intentional with your time. Because if you would have finished the work at a certain time like you said you would, you'll be able to spend that time with your loved one or with your family. Now, granted, the entrepreneurial life is different. There are lots of demands, there are a lot of requests, and you are wearing multiple hats. But eventually, when you find that time to create a system that creates pockets of time to make your consistency more realistic on a daily basis, you'll have time for your loved ones or your families or your partner or your wife, or you'll have time for that because you'll make time. And the scripture for that is Ecclesiastes 3:1. There is a time for everything. Not everything deserves your access right now, or not everything deserves access to you right now. That's also how value is built. So that when people do get your time, they value it. They don't waste it. But you have to show people that you value your time first, and then they will learn to value your time. You know what I'm saying? So I shouldn't say I'm being selfish. You shouldn't say it because it has a negative connotation, but it's okay to be selfish because you're really protecting what God put inside you when you focus and you hone in on that. And so, that shift is what moves your purpose, is what removes the guilt and replaces it with the purpose. And so this is your permission today to be selfish, to be selfish. Choose what it is that God put inside you first. Everything else will come to play. And everybody that truly loves you and respects you will fall in line because they want the best for you. So this is your permission. Ready, set, go. Be selfish.